Hi, and welcome to 2022 Data Science Mock Interviews. My name is Margot Purdy, and I work in Engineering Career Services. I will be your point of contact for this assignment and event. First, I want to thank Tyson Foods for sponsoring this event. They will be providing all the employer volunteers that will be conducting the interviews. So a huge thank you and shout out to Tyson Foods. And students, I have created this video to help guide you through the application sign-up process and AirMeet, which is the virtual platform where the interviews will take place on November 15th and 16th. So first things first, let's start with the application sign-up process, which will open October 21st, it's a Friday, at 5 p.m. You will have October 21st through October 28th at 11:59 p.m. to sign up and select an interview time slot. If you miss this week-long window of opportunity, you will not be able to participate and you won't get credit for this assignment. So it's very, very important that you remember this. You will receive an email reminder, and I will be coming to class to remind you and answer any last-minute questions that you have. But please make sure that you get this done because no exceptions will be made. The first step is handshake. And there are a couple of things that you will need to do before you apply to the internship case study. And to do that, we're going to go to your profile first. If you log into Handshake, your initials appear in the top right corner. If you click on that, it gives you the option to go to My Profile and My Documents. Let's look at your profile first. There are 3 things that have to be on your profile in order to make you eligible to apply for this case study. And that is that you have to have data science listed as your major, College of Engineering has to be listed, and you have to have the classification of sophomore, junior, or senior. If any of these items aren't correct when you check your profile, you can just click the edit pencil to go in and update them. If you have any problems doing that, please reach out to me and I will help you fix it so that you can be eligible to apply. The next thing that you have to take care of is you have to make sure you have an updated resume uploaded into Handshake. And to do that, just go to My Documents, add new document, select from your computer which you want to upload. And then add document. And no, I don't want to feature it on my profile. So I just want to check, what are my documents listed again? So now I have 2, I am going to delete one of them. But that's how you upload your resume, very simple. If you don't upload it as a PDF, Handshake will actually convert it for you. So if it's in a Word doc, that's okay. But you do need to have it here so that when you apply, it's ready to be attached to the job. And that's all you have to do for that. So when you have checked your profile, you have uploaded your current resume, you're going to click on Jobs over on the top left. Now, Data Science Mock Interviews 2022 populated because I've been in it. If it doesn't, just go to the search bar and type DASC mocks, hit return, and it will populate. What you are going to want to do is, yes, now see how this is bright red and I hover over it and it doesn't give me a circle with a line. That means that my profile matches the requirements, so I can quick apply. If you hover over this and you get a circle, a faded circle with a line through it, that means something's wrong and you'll have to go back and look at your profile or reach out to me. You are going to want to read through this job description from Tyson Foods for this internship, this data science internship. I also recommend that you either print this description or take a screenshot of it, because when the job closes on October 28th, you won't be able to access it in Handshake anymore. And you are going to want to review this prior to your interview in November. And again, the interviews don't take place till November 15th or 16th. So I highly, highly recommend printing it or taking a screenshot of it so that you can review it before your interview, because you do want to be prepared. So I scroll through and I think, wow, this internship is awesome. And it really is awesome. They took an actual study that they're working on. And it's very interesting if you read through it. So I'm going to hit quick apply. It automatically pulls up the resume I have uploaded in Handshake, and all I have to do is click submit application. Because I met all the requirements for this particular internship posting, the interview schedule populates, and now I can select a date and a time that I want to interview. Now, there are some gaps in the interview schedule because I got your cohort schedule from Ms. Schultz, and I did not offer any times where all of you are in class. Having said that, I do understand that some of you may have electives outside of your data science cohort that you're in, but there should be plenty of options for you to choose from and a time that you can find in your schedule to do this interview. Handshake does list every time slot available for every date. So we have 4 employers interviewing the morning of the 15th. So there are 4 8:30 interview slots, 4 9 o'clock slots, and so on. And then in the afternoon, we have 3, and we start at 3:30. Again, this is based on your cohort schedule. We have an interview that starts at 3:30 and an interview that starts at 4. Please note, and I know this is going to seem obvious, but we've had students have problems with this in the past. This is the start time of the interview, the first time, 8:30. The second is the end time. When you're making a note of the date and time that you selected, make sure you write down the start time of the interview. We've done this for first-year engineering program for years, and sometimes when the hurried students have written down the end time, they've shown up way too late for the interview. They can't interview and they don't get credit for this. And that's really stinks because they took the right steps. They just wrote down the wrong time. So please make sure that you write down the correct start time and the correct date so that you show up when you're supposed to and get credit for this assignment. So you need to think about your schedule, think about what classes you have, what tests you have, and choose a time that's going to truly work for you. So I know that Tuesday morning is not a good time for me. I'm going to scroll down and, but that 4 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, that's a great time. I'm going to take that slot. I click take slot. It's now bolded and says my slot. I'm going to make a note. I'm interviewing Tuesday, November 15th, starting at 4 p.m. Please understand that this room number is not where you'll be interviewing. This is completely irrelevant. Your interviews are going to take place virtually in AirMeet, and you will find out what table and what employer you're interviewing with when you check in, and I'm going to show you that a little later in the video. So this is completely irrelevant. You will not be interviewing at table number 7 or room 7, but you are interviewing November 15th at 4 p.m. If you think about it, you're about to be done. You don't have to click save or anything. This is the one time in Handshake you don't have to click save. You want to double check, it makes you a little uncomfortable. You can go to My Jobs. And here's the job, the internship posting you interviewed for, or applied to, I'm sorry. And it should say pending. That is correct. If you want to check your interview, click on the Interview Data Science Mock Interviews 2022, and it'll take you back to the schedule. I can scroll down, and yes, there I am, November 15th, 4 p.m. Now, I think about it a few days later, and I realized, you know what, I have a test really early, the morning of the 16th. I don't want to interview then. So I leave the slot, and I scroll down to November 16th, and I think I want to do this after my test the morning of the 16th. So in the afternoon, I'm going to look for a time that works for me. I've got 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2, 2:30. I think I'm going to do the 2 o'clock. That looks like it'll work for me. I take the slot. Again, the room number is completely irrelevant. That is not where I'll be interviewing, but I do want to make a note that Wednesday, November 16th at 2 p.m. is when I'm interviewing. I'm going to put that on my calendar. I'm going to put it in my day planner, on my phone, everywhere so I don't forget. You will get a reminder from Handshake, but not till 24 hours before the interview. That's why it's so important you write it down so you don't forget. And that's all I have to do. I have selected my interview time slot and I am done. Now I'm ready to show you AirMeet. Let me pull up. There are 2 different AirMeet links for each day. They have to have their own separate links. And this guide, this AirMeet guide, is in Blackboard for your convenience. You are going to click on the link for the day you chose. That's very important so that you're in the right link. Once you do that, oh, actually, let me show you one other thing. Sorry. To register, you're going to end up coming to a landing page that looks something like this. You're going to click the Register for AirMeet button. Use your UARC email to register in AirMeet. This is really important. It helps us when we get the report, verify if there are any issues, verify that you were there. So please use your UARC email. You will also need to use your UARC email with the employer because they're going to put that information on the rating form link. And again, that's to verify with your professor and that you get credit for participating in this. So use your UARC email, click register for AirMeet, register for this AirMeet. Make a note of the password that you create because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to go to log in the day of your interview and you don't remember your password. So again, whatever your system is, if you put it in your phone, if you put it in a day planner, make a note of your AirMeet password so that you won't have issues the day of the interview. When you are signing up, it's going to give you the option to input some information. You can provide your name. We do want you to provide your name. The designation field, you can put your major. For organization, put University of Arkansas or data science, either one. And you also have the option, if you have an updated LinkedIn profile, you can add that LinkedIn URL in the country field. If you don't, do not worry about it and don't worry about creating it. It is not important. It's just a little added feature if you choose to do so. Then you will select next, go to the following screen to check all your details. If everything looks good, select continue and you are in. I would advise you to register ahead of time. You can do it the day of your interview. It doesn't take a long time, but I always caution students if you're having any technical difficulties, that's just going to add stress. It's better to do it ahead of time. But again, make a note of your login and password to ensure you don't encounter issues the day of the event. You can also, there's an option to add this event to your calendar. You can do that. And then it'll show you that your registration is complete. Okay, now I'm going to show you the actual AirMeet event. We're going to pretend this is the day of, you're logging in for your interview. When you log in, you're kind of sitting over here out in space, so to speak. You're going to, the first thing you absolutely need to do is come over to the student check-in table, which on both days is located in the same place. It's the very first table, top left, says student check-in. To join the table, you can either click join or just click on an empty chair. Now, because I have Teams open, this probably isn't going to work real well. I'm going to give you some AirMeet tips, but one of the biggest issues is if you have Teams or Zoom open or any other conferencing tool, you can experience camera, microphone, and audio issues. So, but I'm in here by myself, so I'm not really concerned about it. But so it lets me join the table, but there's nobody else here. If there was somebody else here, I could unclick my camera and microphone and have a video conversation with them. You can also do a chat conversation. For example, if you log in and for some reason you are experiencing microphone or cam or audio issues, you can type chat, I'm experiencing issues, and we can troubleshoot. But when you log in, it gives you that option to test, and I really recommend that you do that so that you don't encounter those problems. So as you can see, it's pretty easy. It runs very much like Teams in that you can see the person as you're talking. You can chat. It's very user-friendly. You're going to check in at the student check-in table, and here's where you will get marked arrived. You will be given your interview table number, the table that you're going to interview at, and the name of the employer that you're interviewing with. If the employer is ready, I'm going to leave this for a second, is not ready because they're already interviewing, and you can kind of scroll through. I have this set up so that there are the interview table numbers, and then the consultation tables are in case I have to talk to a student one-on-one because they missed their interview or are too late to join. And then I have some extra interview tables at the bottom just in case they're needed. If your employer is in the middle of conducting an interview and you're a little early, and I do recommend that you arrive 10 to 15 minutes early so that you can get through the check-in process, because if there are multiple students checking in, it will take a few minutes. You can make sure at the student check-in table that everything's working, your camera, your microphone, your audio. So I do recommend that you arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. You're going to check in. I'll give you that information. The employer is not ready or it's a little bit too early to get started, I'm going to tell you to have a seat at the waiting area and to keep an eye on your interview table. And when it's your time or it's a minute or two before and the chair opens up, you can then join. I have this set up so that once the employer joins, they can only have one other person at a time join them so that nobody does interrupt. But do know that as the host, I have the ability to join any table at any time. And if the employer is taking too long with the interviews, to keep everyone on schedule, and because you do have classes, they have been told that I will interrupt and tell them it's time to wrap up. I do not like doing that. It is my least favorite part of this type of event, but I will do it if I have to. So just know that if that happens, and that's not really on you as the student, that's more on the employer, but just know that if that happens, it is awkward. I apologize up front, but again, it's to keep everything on schedule because the student behind you might have, a tight time before their next class starts. So we really need to keep this moving. Each interview is allotted 30 minutes and it's fast. So that's where you're going to get where you're interviewing. The interview table assignment, not in Handshake, is at the student check-in, and the employer name. Now, to kind of run through what's going to happen when you join the employer at the table, you're going to introduce yourself. They're going to introduce themselves very quick. Then they've been instructed to ask you for your full name and your UARC email address. And they're doing this because they need to put it on the interview rating form, which is an electronic link. It's a Google Doc form. They're going to do that so that that's set up ahead of time. Then they're going to very quickly, you need to share your screen with the employer. I'll show you how that works. There's this little share button, just like in Teams, the square with the arrow. You're going to click on that, and that allows you to share the resume that you already have open on your desktop, so it's easy to share with the employer. And it's not going to let me do it because there's nobody else in here, but that's how you're going to share your resume. So it's going to be very important that your resume is open and ready on your desktop or laptop. You'll share your resume. They will very quickly look it over, give you some feedback, and then they're going to go into the questions part of the interview. Ask you any 5 to 7 questions depending on time. Then hopefully there'll be time for you to ask the couple of questions that you've prepared for the interview based on that case study. That's why it's really important you have the case study to review, because you want to have a couple of questions prepared to ask them. You always want to do that in an interview. And then the last 5 minutes will be spent with them going over the feedback form, the interview rating form link, the feedback form with you to provide some constructive feedback about the interview. And then you're done. You don't have to check back in at the student check-in desk when you're done. You're free to go, but you do want to make sure that the employer has your UARC email in that on that rating form link so that you get credit for the interview. And then once you're done, like I said, you can just leave the AirMeet event. You're free to go. Some tips to ensure that this goes smoothly. There is a policy in place that I want to make sure that all students are aware of to ensure that you receive credit for this assignment. If you do not apply and sign up in Handshake by the deadline date, which again is October 28th, 11:59 p.m., you will not be able to interview and will not receive credit for this assignment, no exceptions. So please make sure you apply and sign up within that week's time frame that you're allowed to. On the day of the interview, if you are up to 5 minutes late, you will be able to interview, but you will be warned about punctuality. So again, I highly recommend that you jump into AirMeet and come to the student check-in desk 10 to 15 minutes before your scheduled interview start time. If you are 6 to 10 minutes late, you will need to reschedule and will only receive partial credit. Please keep in mind that there are limited time slots available when this happens. And you'll have to take what's available and that's it. And again, you will only receive partial credit. If you are a no-show, that's 11 minutes after the start of the interview or after, or not showing up at all, you are not allowed to reschedule and you will not receive credit for this mock interview and this assignment in your class. If you have extenuating circumstances, you're sick, family emergency, death in the family, you must provide written documentation such as a doctor's note, obituary notice, etc. Once documentation is provided, you will be allowed to reschedule. There are no exceptions to this. You are given plenty of notice. You are given a week to sign up for it. However, things in life do happen, but you just have to be able to provide that written, legitimate documentation, and then we'll let you reschedule. Okay, some technical tips that I want to share with you to make sure that you have a positive experience in AirMeet. Okay. Use a laptop or desktop computer for the best experience. AirMeet does not work on a cell phone or a tablet. I repeat, does not work on a cell phone or tablet. Keep this in mind when you're picking your time slot for the interview. If you're trying to do this between classes and think you're going to do it on your phone, it will not work. I've had students, they're told this and they still try it and then they're devastated because it won't even pull up, like AirMeet won't even open. So please keep that in mind when you're selecting your day and time to interview. Be sure to close Zoom and Teams or any other conferencing tools prior to entering AirMeet. Leaving them open will cause camera and audio issues. Make sure that you have a background that is somewhat professional. Obviously, you're probably going to have to do this in your dorm room or your apartment or in a quiet place in one of the buildings on campus, but make sure that, you know, it's a quiet area and that it's a professional background behind you. Also make sure that this isn't really technical, but just some tips. Make sure that you dress professionally. You need to approach this mock interview as if it's a real interview. You will be rated on how you present yourself. So even though it's virtual, make sure that you are dressed as if you're going to an actual interview. Some other technical tips. AirMeet is best experienced on Chrome browser version 79 or higher. Download the latest version by going to google.com/Chrome. Other supported browsers are Firefox greater than 76, version 76. They have said that Edge is a supported browser, but I'm going to tell you that last year during FEP mock interviews, the students that used Edge encountered a lot of technical issues, whether it was their camera or audio. So I removed that as a supported browser. AirMeet says it's supported, but it did not go well last year for students that tried to use it. So I would just stick with the Chrome or the Firefox. And definitely not supported browsers, Safari and Opera do not work. Again, the platform probably won't even open, never mind the technical issues. When you are logging in, enable your microphone and camera when prompted, and you can do the little test as well. This probably doesn't apply to students as much as employers, but disable any VPN and firewall settings on an office laptop. Make sure that you have a stable and good internet connection. And if the video feed is not working, you can refresh the page and restart the browser, and that will usually fix the problem. And I guess aside from reminding you that make sure your resume is open and ready on your desktop for the easy sharing, and prepare by reviewing the case study and have a couple of questions prepared ahead of time. Those are pretty much all the tips that I have. And again, you can email me if you have any problems with your profile or any questions, and my email is mp064@uark.edu. That's M as in Margot, P as in Purdy, mp064@uark.edu. And I look forward to working with all of you. Good luck at signups.